Introduction of Among the Meadow People. This is a LibriVox recording. All LibriVox recordings are in the public domain. For more information or to volunteer, please visit LibriVox.org. Recording by Francis Brown. Among the Meadow People by Clara Dillingham Pierson. Introduction. Many of these stories of field life were written for the little ones of my kindergarten, and they gave so much pleasure and aroused such a new interest in the meadow people that it has seemed wise to collect and add to the original number and send them out to a larger circle of boys and girls. All mothers and teachers hear the cry for just one more, and find that there are times when the bewitching tales of animals, fairies, and really truly children are all exhausted, and tired imagination will not supply another. In selecting the tiny creatures of the field and garden for the characters in this book, I have remembered with pleasure the way in which my loyal pupils befriended stray crickets and grasshoppers, their intense appreciation of the new realm of fancy and observation, and the eagerness and attention with which they sought Mother Nature, the most wonderful and tireless of all storytellers. Clara Dillingham Pierson, Stanton, Michigan, April 8, 1897. End of introduction. Recording by Francis Brown.
Chapter 1 of Among the Meadow People. This is a LibriVox recording. All LibriVox recordings are in the public domain. For more information or to volunteer, please visit LibriVox.org. Recording by Jennifer Dorr. Among the Meadow People by Clara Dillingham Pierson. Chapter 1. The Butterfly That Went Calling. As the warm August days came, Mr. Yellow Butterfly wriggled and pushed in his snug little green chrysalis and wished he could get out to see the world. He remembered the days when he was a hairy little caterpillar, crawling slowly over the grass and leaves, and he remembered how beautiful the sky and all the flowers were. Then he thought of the new wings which he had been growing from his back, and he tried to move them, just to see how it would feel. He had only 6 legs since his wings grew, and he missed all the sticky feet which he had to give up when he began to change into a butterfly. The more he thought about it, the more he squirmed, until suddenly he heard a faint little sound, too faint for larger people to hear, and found a tiny slit in the wall of his chrysalis. It was such a dainty green chrysalis with white wrinkles that it seemed almost a pity to have it break. Still, it had held him for 8 days already, and that was as long as any of his family ever hung in the chrysalis, so it was quite time for it to be torn open and left empty. Mr. Yellow Butterfly belonged to the second brood that had hatched that year, and he wanted to be out while the days were still fine and hot. Now he crawled out of the newly opened doorway to take his first flight. Poor Mr. Butterfly! He found his wings so wet and crinkled that they wouldn't work at all, so he had to sit quietly in the sunshine all day drying them. And just as they got big and smooth and dry, it grew dark, and Mr. Butterfly had to crawl under a leaf to sleep. The next morning, bright and early, he flew away to visit the flowers. First he stopped to see the daisies by the roadside. They were all dancing in the wind, and their bright faces looked as cheerful as anyone could wish. They were glad to see Mr. Butterfly, and wished him to stay all day with them. He said, "You are very kind, but I really couldn't think of doing it. You must excuse my saying it, but I am surprised to think you will grow here. It is very dusty and dry, and then there is no shade. I am sure I could have chosen a better place." The daisies smiled and nodded to each other, saying, "This is the kind of place we were made for, that's all." Mr. Butterfly shook his head very doubtfully, and then bade them a polite good morning and flew away to call on the cardinals. The cardinals are a very stately family, as everybody knows. They hold their heads very high and never make deep bows even to the wind. But for all that, they are a very pleasant family to meet. They gave Mr. Butterfly a dainty lunch of honey, and seemed much pleased when he told them how beautiful the river looked in the sunlight. "It is a delightful place to grow," said they. "Yes," said Mr.
Sample complete. Ready to continue?